It was a chilly autumn night, the time when the air carried a subtle crispness, and the moon cast an ethereal glow upon the deserted streets. The clock struck midnight, signaling the beginning of a series of inexplicable events that would forever haunt the recesses of my mind. I found myself alone in my small apartment, nestled within the heart of a city that never truly slept. The flickering streetlight just outside my window cast an otherworldly dance of shadows upon the walls. I dismissed it initially, attributing the spectral play of light to the whims of a faulty electrical system or perhaps the rustling leaves outside. As the nights wore on, however, I couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that I was being watched. Each time I glanced out the window, I could discern a faceless figure lurking within the shadows. It stood motionless, like a silent sentinel, and its presence grew more palpable with each passing night. The figure seemed to draw closer with each passing night, as if the shadows were not just an absence of light, but a tangible entity creeping into my space. Its form was elusive, a silhouette devoid of features, yet its malevolence permeated the room. I tried to convince myself that it was a trick of the imagination, a manifestation of the mind's tendency to conjure fear in the absence of reason. But reason eluded me when, one night, I summoned the courage to confront the enigmatic presence. As I approached the window, a shiver ran down my spine, and a cold sweat clung to my skin. The figure, devoid of eyes and mouth, seemed to beckon me into the abyss. It was an omen, a harbinger of something far more sinister than my worst nightmares. Compelled by a morbid curiosity, I delved into the history of my apartment building, seeking any explanation for the malevolent force that now coexisted with me. What I discovered chilled me to the core. The building had a dark past, a history of unspeakable horrors that had transpired within its walls. A century ago, a malevolent cult had occupied the very space I now called home. They worshipped an ancient deity, conducting macabre rituals that defied the laws of nature. The faceless figure that haunted me was a manifestation of the malevolent energy left behind by those who had delved into the forbidden. As I unraveled the sinister threads of the building's history, I realized that the figure was not merely a specter, it was a portent, a warning of an impending doom that sought to engulf me. I couldn't escape the feeling that I was entangled in a cosmic struggle between forces beyond my comprehension. Night after night, the faceless figure drew nearer, its presence suffocating me like an invisible noose. I became consumed by a sense of impending dread, unable to escape the inexorable pull of the malevolent energy that surrounded me. In the depths of my research, I stumbled upon a forgotten ritual, a way to appease the vengeful spirits that lingered within the apartment. Desperation compelled me to follow the ancient instructions, to navigate the blurred line between the tangible and the supernatural. The night I conducted the ritual was a descent into the macabre. Candles flickered, casting dancing shadows that mirrored the malevolent entity that haunted me. The air thickened with an unnatural stillness as I uttered incantations that echoed through the silent darkness. In that moment, the faceless figure before me seemed to waver, its form dissipating like mist in the morning sun. The oppressive weight that had clung to the air lifted, and a profound silence settled upon the room. The following nights were eerily quiet, devoid of the haunting presence that had tormented me. The faceless figure had retreated into the shadows, its ominous warnings heeded. Yet, a lingering unease remained, a constant reminder that the boundary between the living and the supernatural is perilously thin. As I reflect on those harrowing nights, I am haunted by the realization that some malevolent forces defy rational explanation. The faceless figure, an omen from a dark past, served as a stark reminder that the sins of those who came before can cast a long and insidious shadow over the present. I have emerged from this ordeal with a newfound understanding that there are forces in this world that transcend the boundaries of reason, lurking in the shadows, waiting to be awakened by the unwitting. It was during a journey through the obscure corners of my family's history that I unearthed an artifact that would forever alter the course of my existence. An ancient mask, a relic passed down through generations, concealed within the dusty recesses of a forgotten attic. The mask bore the weight of countless stories, whispers of power and immortality woven into its ancient fibers. Intricately carved with symbols of a forgotten era, the mask emanated an aura of both mystique and malevolence. Its presence seemed to transcend the physical, a silent testimony to the secrets it harbored. As I held the artifact in my hands, a haunting sensation lingered, a premonition that this discovery would unveil a dark chapter in my family's lineage. It was a moonless night, the air heavy with a profound stillness, when I succumbed to the allure of the mysterious mask. Its whispers, subtle yet insistent, echoed through the corridors of my mind, promising untold power and the elixir of immortality. Compelled by irresistible force, I adorned the ancient artifact, feeling the cool touch of its ancient surface against my skin. As the mask settled upon my face, the world around me shifted. Shadows danced with an unnatural fervor, and the very air seemed to thicken with an arcane energy. My reflection in the mirror twisted into a nightmarish visage, a grotesque fusion of human features and otherworldly malevolence. It was a chilling transformation that bespoke the unholy pact forged between the ancient mask and its unwitting wearer. With the transformation came an insatiable hunger for power, an unquenchable thirst for the elixir of immortality promised by the mask. The malevolent force within compelled me to commit unspeakable acts, each dark deed tethering me further to the sinister influence that gripped my soul. Under the mask's malevolent guidance, I found myself drawn into a web of forbidden rituals and macabre practices. The artifact demanded a blood tribute, a price paid in the currency of lives extinguished prematurely. I became an unwitting agent of darkness, driven by a force beyond my control to fulfill the ancient promises whispered by the mask. The mask's power was both intoxicating and enslaving. It bestowed upon me abilities beyond the realm of mortal comprehension, yet each newfound strength came at a cost. The shadows that clung to my every move spoke of a Faustian bargain, a pact that shackled me to a destiny fraught with moral decay. As the malevolent force tightened its grip, my descent into darkness became inexorable. The mask demanded increasingly heinous acts, and with each atrocity committed, my reflection in the mirror grew more grotesque, a grotesque caricature of the humanity I once possessed. The mask's whispers taunted me, a ceaseless reminder of the power it held over my very soul. It became evident that the artifact was not a passive conduit but a malevolent entity with a will of its own, manipulating me as a puppet in its dark theater. Haunted by the weight of my actions, I sought solace in the dim recesses of forbidden knowledge. I discovered ancient texts that spoke of a ritual, a perilous endeavor to sever the bond between the cursed artifact and its unwitting bearer. The undertaking was fraught with peril, but the alternative was a life condemned to an eternity of malevolent servitude. As the appointed hour arrived, I stood before an altar adorned with arcane symbols, the mask obscuring my face like a grotesque veil. With trembling hands, I initiated the ritual, invoking ancient incantations that resonated with the very fabric of the supernatural. The room quivered with an otherworldly energy as the ritual unfolded, and the mask's malevolence clashed with the forces summoned to break its grip. Shadows writhed in protest, and the air crackled with an intensity that mirrored the struggle within my own soul. In a climactic surge, the mask relinquished its hold. As I peeled the artifact from my face, a profound stillness settled upon the room. The malevolent force that had guided my actions dissipated, leaving behind an eerie silence that echoed the weight of my liberation. Free from the cursed artifact, I gazed upon the mask with a mix of horror and relief. The promises of power and immortality, once alluring, now seemed like distant echoes of a malevolent past. The artifact, devoid of its dark influence, lay dormant, a silent testament to the precarious dance between forbidden knowledge and the fragility of the human spirit. The ordeal left an indelible mark on my soul, a haunting reminder that some artifacts are better left undisturbed in the shadowy corners of history. As I locked away the ancient mask, I pondered the thin line between ambition and damnation, and the eternal struggle to resist the seductive whispers of power that lurk within the forgotten relics of the past. It was an ominous night, the kind where the air hung heavy with a palpable sense of foreboding. The town square, usually a bustling hub of activity, had transformed into an eerie tableau overnight. The cursed carnival, with its twisted spires and ominous tents, had materialized as if summoned by forces beyond the realm of reason. The sinister allure of the carnival beckoned me, its dark presence whispering promises of unknown thrills and forbidden mysteries. The rides, long abandoned in the waking world, creaked to life with an otherworldly energy, their flickering lights casting distorted shadows that danced on the desolate grounds. Against my better judgment, I found myself drawn toward the ghostly carnival, compelled by a force I couldn't comprehend. The laughter of spectral children echoed through the air, a haunting melody that sent shivers down my spine. It was a symphony of the lost and the forgotten, a melancholic reminder that this carnival existed on the fringes of reality, where the boundaries between the living and the dead blurred into obscurity. As I stepped through the rusted gates, the atmosphere became suffused with an unsettling energy. The air felt charged with a spectral electricity, and the ground beneath my feet seemed to shift like a living entity. The carnival was a portal, a gateway to a realm where the living and the dead coexisted in a twisted dance of the macabre. The funhouse, with its warped mirrors and labyrinthine corridors, beckoned me with an irresistible pull. The facade, adorned with faded colors and peeling paint, concealed the true nature of the carnival, a nexus between worlds where the living could